Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Amber and today's video is going to be a bit of a home library update for you. I do feel like a bit of a arsehole calling it a home library, but me and Mac have recently combined both of our collections of books together, and these shelves are literally the only thing in this room except for a little reading chair. So yeah, you know what, I'm gonna call it a home library. I realised that I've not done a haul video on this channel for almost 2 years now, and I've never actually done an unhaul video specifically. When it comes to unhauling books, a lot of the time I'm doing it constantly, so whenever I'm choosing my next book I might just take out a book here and there that I'm no longer interested in, and I've never really been super into unhaul videos myself. But I have watched quite a few recently and I do find them pretty interesting. I do like to know some of the reasons why people are getting rid of books, so that's what I'm going to talk about today firstly. And I also had the idea to split this video into two parts. So one part is going to be all the books that I'm getting rid of and one part is going to be a haul. I'm going to separate them into two separate videos, but I'm going to upload them very close together. I'm really mad at myself today because I bought a microphone for my last video. I really liked using it and I've lost the frigging connector, so I'm really annoyed with myself. I've already tried to film this once, gave up because I was so annoyed. But I'm coming back because I'm just being silly. So I will either try and find it or potentially buy a new one for the next video. So this is the stack of books that I'm going to be getting rid of. I think all of them are currently on my Vinted page because I tend to try and get rid of them that way first, just so I can get a couple of extra pennies to put towards new books. Everything on there is literally a couple of quid and I accept offers because I just want to get rid of them. So yeah, if you fancy having a look over there, then I will link it in the description box. But yeah, let us start with the first one on the top of this pile, which is Mrs. March by Virginia Fato. I'd describe this mainly as a literary suspense novel. This is about a woman whose life starts coming apart at the seams after she learns that one of her husband's books has a character in it that is potentially inspired by her, and this character is not the most desirable character. I read it, I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't really anything that stood out to me or shocked me or anything. It kind of went exactly where I thought it was going to go. I don't tend to keep books that I've given sort of less than a 4-star rating, so I just feel like it's better to give this to somebody who's going to really like it. The next one I have is Milk Blood Heat, which I think I bought myself on Vinted, so I'm just now going to resell it on there. This is a collection of short stories, which again I read, I thought they were fine. I think I gave it 3 stars. Apart from one, none of these stories have really stuck with me or really resonated with me. I know for a fact that I won't ever reread this book. It's not one that I'm going to be sort of recommending to people and like pushing on them. So again, I think this is just one that would benefit from being on somebody else's shelf and no longer taking up space on mine. This is a book that I actually bought after reading it on my Kindle because at the time it was one of my favourite books. It's The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson. I read this when I was first getting into reading again quite a few years ago, and I think I gave it like a 4.5, maybe a 5-star. But as the years have gone on, I've just kind of lost my love for it. I'm not interested in reading any of the sequels that have since come out. I don't think I'll ever reread it. I read it that long ago now that I can barely even remember if it was that good. So it's time to just give this one back to another reader. One that I bought full price and DNF'd unfortunately was Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Mellors, which is maybe controversial because I know everyone loves Coco Mellors. I just couldn't really get invested in this book. I made it about 80 pages in, something like that. It was a 5-star prediction, perhaps naively, because I don't know why I thought I would like really love this book. It's about an age gap relationship. They're living in New York. It's quite like pretentious writing. So this one's going to be going up on my Vinted. Like I said, I didn't even read it in full, so it's kind of, well, I wouldn't say brand new, but it's definitely like in good condition. So yeah, that can go to somebody who has really been wanting to get into Coco Mellors. The next one I have here, I did also have the other 2 books in this series. So this is the Southern Reach trilogy. The first one is Annihilation and they're by Jeff Vandermeer. So I did originally put them on Vinted as a bundle, like all 3. And somebody asked if they could just have the second and the third, so I said yes, that's absolutely fine. So I'm just left with the first one, which is quite a nice position to be in actually, because I feel like somebody's more likely to buy this on its own rather than just like the second one or the third one. But the only reason why I'm getting rid of this is because I really want the new covers of these books. I read Annihilation quite a few years ago gave it, I think, a 5-star. Really, really loved it. I read the second one, which I think is called Authority, and I really didn't like that one. I think I gave it maybe a 2-star. It's a completely different vibe to the first one, so I never actually read the third one. But Jeff Vandermeer has just come out with a fourth one, and I feel like I'm ready to give it another go. I really want to reread this one. I really want to give Authority another chance, knowing what I know now and not to expect like the same as this. But yeah, I would really like to treat myself to the new editions, so I'm gonna give this to somebody else. This is another example of a book that I've held on to for quite a long time because I really liked it, but it's just kind of lost the spark now as the years have gone on. This is The Whisper Man by Alex North. I won't lie, I can't really remember what this book is about. I think it's a thriller about somebody who whispers in windows and potentially kidnaps children. Can't really remember, but I think I gave it like a 4-star at the time. I've had it for many years, but I no longer have any like desire to have it. With it being a thriller, I can't see myself ever rereading this. A little bit like The Kind Worth Killing, it's been that long that I don't know if a recommendation for this book holds up. Not that I'm saying don't read it, but I just literally do not remember what happens or why I liked it. So it's time that this one stops gathering dust on my shelf and is read by somebody else. I feel like this kind of video is very repetitive because I'm just like, yes, time for someone else to read it, but that is literally the case, isn't it? Next up we have Tom Felton's memoir. I bought this one full price again because actually it wasn't full price, I think it was half price, but it was still like a brand new book because I absolutely love Harry Potter. As you can see, I've got my like mishmash collection of the series there. We're currently rewatching the films now, as I tend to do every Christmas, and yeah, I was super keen to read this one. I did enjoy it to an extent, but I ended up having quite a lot of issues with it, which I think I might have talked about in another video. I may have also written a Goodreads review, so I will link those down below if you want to know sort of more why I didn't like this one as much as I thought I would. I know that Tom Felton's a little bit of a meme online for being like really into Harry Potter still and kind of clinging on to that, which, you know what, I would too if I was him. But this is very like almost cringy level aimed at Harry Potter fans, which is fine. But I really did want like a deeper look into his thought process as he was filming it, the thoughts after. I think that would be so interesting to learn about the sort of transition into filming other things, you know, sort of being known as this character your whole life, and what kind of effect that has on you as a person. And then he also talks about his stint of alcoholism, but he's very sort of dismissive of it. He doesn't really get into like the nitty-gritty that I wanted. So yeah, it's just not really one that I would recommend, but I feel like somebody else might be interested in this, so I don't need to hold on to it any longer. Another thriller that I'm going to be unhauling is Just Another Missing Person by Gillian McAllister. This is a police procedural thriller kind of book about a woman who is investigating this disappearance, but she starts getting blackmailed to kind of swerve the investigation into a different path, or else something's going to be revealed about her daughter. This was another one that it was fun whilst I read it. I think I gave it like a 3.5, a 3. Some of the tropes and the motives in this book were just not my favourite, and one of the twists in this book that I thought should have really worked for me didn't fully land for me personally. So it's not one that I'm dying to hold on to. I think if I had Wrong Time, Wrong Place, then I would keep hold of that, but because that one is like the superior Gillian McAllister in my opinion, I just don't really need to have this anymore. And the last 3 that I have here are books that I kind of recently hauled in the summer from Vinted. Again, you can tell I'm a bit obsessed, but I just don't want to keep them for whatever reason. So the first one I have here is The Last Thing to Burn by Will Dean. I want to say this is like a suspense book. It's basically about a guy who is holding this woman captive, and there's not really a ton of mystery behind it. There wasn't much thriller. It was just like a kidnap story, which I'm not super interested in anymore. I didn't read too much of it, but I just wasn't interested. I wasn't hooked into the story, and yeah, I've just decided that I'm never going to pick this back up again. So I'm going to pass this on to a new home. Next up was one that I did actually finish, and that was Unmissing by Minka Kent. This one is a story about a woman who goes missing, and many years later she resurfaces alive and well, and she turns up at her like old husband's house, and he's basically moved on, started a new family, he's got a pregnant wife, and it's kind of about these complicated dynamics. This was quite fun, fast-paced, it had a really good twist, and then it kind of went a little bit silly, and for me it ended up feeling a little bit like popcorn thrillery, so I gave it I think 3 stars in the end. Again, not a bad book, it's just one that I'm not like really into keeping. And then the last book that I have here is actually very beautiful. It's Night Film by Marisha Pessl. I don't know if it's still the same, but when I was looking for Night Film, everything was being sold for at least a tenner. And I just thought that this one was a very pretty edition, so I managed to get this one. This is another book that I've unfortunately DNF'd. This should be everything to me. It's like a mixed media mystery about a girl who's supposedly committed suicide. Her dad is this really mysterious, renowned director, and this disgraced journalist is going to be investigating what happened. Along the way, he picks up these two like assistants in a way that are like much younger than him, that have some sort of vested interest in the case, and it should have been everything that I wanted. Like, look, it's got like little transcripts here, it's got like pictures and articles, and yeah, it just should be totally up my street. I thought this was going to be a 5-star read, and unfortunately I want to say about 200 pages in. I definitely gave it a good go and I just was not interested. I didn't like our main character. He was super annoying. He came across as very like written by a man vibes. I didn't like any of the side characters. I felt that the plot was very sort of one note almost. Like they'd go to one place, they'd find one clue, then they'd go to the next place, and then they'd find one clue, and then they'd go to the next place, and on and on and on. It was very like linear, it wasn't very complicated. There didn't seem to be many layers going on, and yeah, it just lost my interest. So this is another one that I would just like somebody else to have, because I've heard so many good things about this. I feel like somebody else would really love this, but just not me. So let me try and think off the top of my head what other books I've got rid of recently. I have recently sold Station 11 and Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. I did try and start reading Station 11 very briefly, and I don't know, everyone hypes that book so much, and I feel like it's been on my TBR so long that I've just completely lost interest in it. I feel like that's one book that I may read sort of in the future, but the edition that I have, I'll put a picture up here, I just didn't really love. And if I was going to read it in the future, I would probably buy the other edition, which I think is much nicer. And then I got Sea of Tranquility because I thought I would read that if I loved Station 11. And again, I'm just not interested in reading either of them at the minute. I've also unhauled It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, which obviously there's a whole controversy around that, but I actually really like that book. I gave it like 4.5 stars a couple of years ago actually, so not even like a long time ago, but I just don't really see the need to keep hold of that one. I got rid of The Twyford Code by Janice Hallett, which was unfortunately a DNF. I have read 3 other books by Janice Hallett that I've absolutely loved, but for some reason The Twyford Code, I was so bored. I didn't like it at all. I didn't like the main guy. I was not interested one bit, so unfortunately that one has also gone. That's all I can think of right now, but I will pop up some pictures if there's anything else that's recently been given away or sold. But yeah, I think that is it for this part of the video. Obviously there's going to be a whole video coming up soon where I've got quite a few books here to replace the space that has been cleared with these lot. But do let me know if you enjoyed this video by giving it a like or a comment. If you want to see more from me, then please do subscribe. It means the world to me, and I will hopefully see you in my next video. Bye!